Good afternoon and a warm welcome to this special interview. I'm Anoop Verma from ETGovernment, which is an initiative of the Economic Times. Today I am joined by Mahesh Krishnamoorthy, Managing Director of Core Integra. The company was established in 2009 and it is now India's leading regulatory technology company, transforming compliance. It is also a major SaaS-based compliance platform serving about 500 entities in 30 industries. Mahesh specializes in establishing and re-engineering business units as profit centers by designing unique value propositions. Before joining Core Integra, he was involved in building Mahindra Integrated Business Solutions, a Mahindra Group company. Now I come to my first question for Mahesh. First of all, I would like to know your view of the labor laws in the country, how they can be reformed and compliance can be improved.
Perfect. Thanks, Anoopji. Thanks for having me here. And you started off with an interesting question because we're sitting on the anvil of the new labor law compliances, the new wage code to be released. So we are still looking at when it is going to be released because in 2019, 2020, the new wage code was announced, which is basically consolidation and simplification of the labor law compliances. Almost 29 laws are being consolidated into 4 codes. I think that's a major move that the government is doing. And since the implementation needs to be done by the states, I think it's taking some time. But I think it would be just anytime soon, maybe as early as 2024 mid, when I think this would be announced. And that's going to be a real transformation. And I think everyone is looking up to it, whether it's the industry, whether it is the service provider community, whether it is the government agencies as well, because that's a transformation happening in this space probably after many years. So while the government has always taken small steps in digitalizing the entire processes, this would be the start of a completely new era, is what my perspective is.
Okay. There is a technology called Control F that is being built as India's first SaaS-based labor law compliance platform, RegTech.
Yeah.
So through this platform, what kind of technology-based governance, risk, and compliance solutions that you are proposing for startups and large corporations?
Okay. So Anupji, typically if you see, the moment we speak about labor law compliances, what comes to our mind is largely, lots of papers, lots of forms, lots of formats, some
Yes.
pink color forms, blue color forms, white color forms, yellow color forms. So unfortunately, our labor law compliance piece largely works even today in this way. So what happened is when we decided to become a national level player for labor law compliances way back about 10, 11 years back, we got good response from the industry. And otherwise, typically the industry used to operate with local players. Now, the challenge with local players is they typically know laws pertaining to their state. But the moment their client expands beyond the existing state to new states, or they expand to the pan-India level, these people find it challenging in terms of servicing them. So, which is where we said that, okay, let us become a national level player, let us enter this space. And when the industry responded well, we grew very fast. Now, when we grew very fast, the challenge that was coming was, to give you a simple example, if any company is present in 10 states, then every month there are on an average 50 forms and formats that they need to fill. So now if I have 100 clients, that means I have to do 100 into 10,000 into 50,000. And this I have to do in a window of 5th to 15th of the month. Now you can imagine that if I have to do 50,000 submissions in a matter of 10 days in a month, again and again every month, manually I'll need an army of people, which is where we actually the concept of Control F was born. And we said that, okay, let us build a software which will enable us to do all these things at a click of a button. And that is how this software was born. And initially, it was largely used for our own consumption. So, whichever client used to take our services, this used to be given as kind of complimentary for them. Now, what happened is in 2020, when the pandemic struck, and neither we nor the employees of the customers nor the labor authorities or government authorities used to come to office, it became difficult. How do we fulfill compliances? So that is when we thought that let's offer a software to our clients. So at least their people, whether it's their HR team members, their finance team members, their admin team members, at least they can be maintaining the compliances on a regular basis by using this software. So, which is how the entire birth of Control F on a SaaS model came. And then we realized that the industry typically doesn't have a similar software at all. Now, what the software does, Interestingly, this software doesn't have much of a competition in the Indian market as we speak. But will competition come? Of course, competition will come. Any good thing will have competition coming in the market at any point of time. But what this does is, where you need information. So typically we divide it in three buckets. One is, if you need information, where do you go? Do you need to pick up the phone and ask a consultant, or can you just type on Google equivalent platform and check it? So that information availability on fingertips. Second thing is, if I want to avoid people sitting and filling up formats with pens, then do I have a method to do it? The third is, I want a single storage repository for all my compliance documents through which I can see through dashboards, MIS, reports, and in my mobile also I'm able to see what is my kind of compliance status. Now, if let's take for an example a company which is present in 15 states across the country. Obviously, the CEO, CFO, COO is going to sit in one location, which could be either a Bombay or a Hyderabad or a Bangalore or a Delhi. Now, if I'm sitting over here and I have got my shops, retail outlets, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 shops, or if I'm a bank, I have got 10,000 branches across the country. How do I sitting? How do I sitting in the corporate office understand in a minute whether I'm compliant or not compliant? So this software plays the role where if tomorrow I'm opening up a new office in, let's say, Chennai, what are the compliances I need to fulfill in Chennai? What are the forms, formats that I need to submit? What are one-time compliances? What are recurring compliances? What is the fees that I need to pay for it? And if I don't comply, what is going to happen to me? Could be something as simple as a fine penalty, or could be something as serious as imprisonment. So this is one thing which the software takes care of. The second thing is, every month I have to process multiple forms and formats. At a click of a button, if my data is there from my HR software, finance software, will it come into the system and at a click of a button generate all those formats and ensure that it is maintained for record keeping, and ensure that I just need to take a print or I need to online upload it on the government portal. The third part is, sitting centrally, am I able to have better transparency, visibility, governance, and control on my compliance status. So today, if I want to see that my one office in Ghaziabad is non-compliant in PF compliances, I should be able to get an alert to tell me that your Ghaziabad is not compliant, 15th due date is over. And today you're sitting on 16, they are non-compliant. Or an advance alert to say that, look, your branches have to comply to this particular compliance on 15th of every month. Today is 13th, but I find that 40 out of 1,000 branches are not compliant. So it helps me take a proactive action centrally. So this is what this entire software aims at. And this is typically something which is not available anywhere else in the market.
That's a, when we think of labor laws in India and labor in general, we get a kind of very messy kind of impression. So it is very surprising that you are actually digitizing the process of managing the labor. So from the startups, I can imagine they have a small uh, labor employee strength. But from the traditional companies, what kind of response are you getting? Are they, trying to digitize their labor law compliance issues?
So if you ask me, Anoopji, it is, we are sitting in a situation where it is unavoidable. And why I'm telling you unavoidable, I will tell you. 5 years, 8 years back, the companies had a choice to
Some of the
continue.
laws could be contradictory. Different judgments from different courts, so are you able to manage all that?
Okay, let me put this in two parts. Okay, so first thing is, there is uh, what I should do and how I should do. Okay. Now, how I should do is something which the software takes care of. So if you are supposed to file your returns on a particular date, this software will generate and file your returns. If you're supposed to maintain registers, update it, this will do it on the deadlines. If you have to file your PF, ESIC, LWF, PT, this will take care of it. So how I should do something, manual versus technology, this platform takes care of it. Now, what I should do? Now, as you rightly said, legal and compliance is always a shade of gray. If you simply read that English, you can interpret it in 10 different ways. So that is where we are domain experts. So we are into labor law consulting, we are into execution services, and we have technology also. So the edge that we have over our competition is we have a technology. The competition doesn't have a technology. But typically, what I should do? So as you rightly said, there is a high court judgment. How do I interpret it? How does it apply to my business? whether I'm doing the right thing, I'm doing the wrong thing, which is where our advisory piece of our business comes into picture, and we advise the clients, saying that this is what the industry opinion is, this is what the practice is. Let's say we want to make a representation to the government authority, labor authority, then we do that on behalf of our clients. If we have to make industry representation, then we are part of multiple industry forums. So through the forums also we make a representation. If the client needs any lawyer or law firm to represent their particular case, because we technically are not a law firm, but we have a panel of lawyers. So again, we have the lawyers who represent the client on behalf of that. So that is where our consulting business plays a huge role, and we are retained consultants for multiple organizations. And coming back to your other question on large enterprises, yes, large enterprises are adopting it. In fact, startups also happen to be a good, significant customer base for us, because today, within a year and a half of startups coming, you know the kind of funding they are getting. And our work starts from even before they think of getting funding, because their due diligence reports have to come clean. So if their due diligence reports have to come clean, then they have to engage us, ensure that everything is right, without which you know that the good quality investment agencies will not put money in them. Uh, but if you ask me, the way the government is moving this entire piece, so if you see GST, for example, or you take any other financial compliances, taxation compliances, secretarial compliances, largely the government has focused on it over the last 15, 18 years and done a lot of digital transformation there. Now, if you see, labor law compliance is also being transformed, but under the aegis of ease of doing business. So, if you see, about 5 years back, India was ranked 144th in the global ease of doing business index, which in the last 5 years it has come down to about 60, 70. Now, the government is very clear that we want to make India in ease of doing business world ranking in the top 10. Now, if you have to do it in top 10, the first thing that comes into picture is labor law compliance, because it starts with licensing, registration. Now, with the government focusing on ease of doing business, with the new wage code around the anvil of implementation, these are the first steps that the government is going to take in digitalization. The moment these two get implemented completely, digitalization is going to come rapidly. To give you a simple example, uh, 15, 18 years back, if you wanted to withdraw your own provident fund, you know, there were agents who used to facilitate the process to
Yes.
get you your PF settlement out. Today, there is nothing that you need to do. That agent community is dead. Today, even the employer cannot do anything for you. It is completely in your hands. You go to the PF portal, you make an application, whether it is for a loan or for a withdrawal, you satisfy the conditions, the money is in your account within 15 or 20 days. So it's become that efficient. ESIC claims completely employees have control over it. So the government is also moving rapidly in this phase. And if you ask me, probably 3 or 5 years down the line, Core Integra may not be a services company. They will be a consulting company and a technology company. And because we have already invested in technology in this space for the last 7, 8 years, I strongly believe that we would have a competitive edge over the rest of the market, and that's where we are moving and taking a direction towards as well.
Core Integra has developed a proprietary technology supporting RPA and AI. The SaaS-based plug-and-play tools provide about access to 40,000 pages of labor laws and 1,000 plus laws and acts, 10,000 compliances, 20,000 legal updates, 1,000 bilingual formats, and more. So, I mean, all this is very complicated. I mean, and the legal vertical is already very complicated. So, I still would like to know if you can tell me something more about how the companies are responding to this, and what kind of technologies are they asking? Are they asking for some more enhancements or something more that can be done in this area?
Okay, so I'll respond in three parts, Anoopji. So the first part is, I would urge you, maybe after this discussion, you can go and check the Core Integra website. You just type www.coreintegra.com. If you see the website, we give a lot of updates in the open domain. So even if you are not my client, my website is very, very useful for you, because whatever are the latest minimum wages changes, whatever are the overtime working hour rules, whatever are the latest High Court, Supreme Court judgments, what are the compliance dates and deadlines which are important to you, all these things are available on my website free of cost. And these are the most important information that any company, any individual would need to know. So we don't restrict the information and say that you pay for it. What is critical information, we are more than happy to give, because we want this nation to be compliant. So we don't want a situation where companies are thinking that, can I be non-compliant? Can I sort of deviate it and manage it when some issue comes? Or should I do this only when someone comes and checks me? Now, whether you are a simple local market provision store owner or you happen to be the Tatas, Birlas, Mahindras of India, compliance is the same for everyone depending on the size and scale of your establishment. And our entire objective is to ensure that India as a country is known as a compliant country. And wherever I go as a speaker, panelist, part of forums, I always say it is cheaper and easier to comply than to be non-compliant. In fact, the cost of compliance is very, very low, even if you're a startup. Uh, so information is something which we give transparently across. It's available across our websites for everyone, even if you're not my client.
Okay.
The second part is we strongly believe that quantitative, repetitive tasks should be done by the machine and not by human beings. Human beings should be investing their time in applying their intelligence, engaging with customers, and sort of giving insights and analytics. That is why we use robotic process automation very, very heavily. So in the last 2 years, most of the quantitative tasks using our platforms are done by the robots, the bots. So that is where we have invested heavily in robotic process automation. The third step that comes is the artificial intelligence machine learning, which is AI ML. AI ML is something which we are still on the development version. We are on the beta version. We have not made it live. But wherever there can be structured logical decision making is something which we are putting into our platform, where you don't need human beings to, approve an exception. So if an exception rules are defined, then the machine will automatically approve. So this is the second part where we are using the new innovative future technologies in our software, which will ensure that human beings are interacting more, communicating more, and applying their intelligence, and not actually doing your copy paste and data entry and those kind of things. The third step is what you asked: how is the industry responding? How What is the industry expecting? So if you ask me, uh, let me give you a simple example. About 20 years back, you needed to appoint agencies to process your payroll because they were experts in payroll, or you had to hire people in your company who were experts in payroll. But today, if you look at the softwares available in the payroll industry, any HR person or any finance person can go and at a click of a button generate the entire payroll for the company. Compliance also we are looking at in the same way, where the clients are telling us that I can't hire compliance competent people because I don't have that much work for them. Even if I'm a large company, I engage one employee who is knowledgeable of compliance, that person doesn't have so much work. So the software should be such that any of my employees, could be any employee from HR, admin, finance, who doesn't need to know compliance but is still able to fulfill 100% compliance. So the entire software is made, like you had DOS for dummies, Windows for dummies. This is more like compliance for dummies. So any person and every person can actually ensure their organization is compliant. For example, startup where two or three founders started, they don't know compliance, but they know their product, they know their service. But they should also be able to use the software and be 100% compliant. So that is what the industry is asking, and that is what we are working towards as well.
So the biggest employer in the country is probably the government. A lot of
Yes.
government projects are there, a lot of departments are there, and they're employing huge number of people. Are there any products that you are developing that are specifically targeted to the government sector? So the
So
government can use government projects like 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 people that they are employing. They can also comply using this software.
So we do have many government and quasi-government companies as our clients, and our product control F, our services, our advisors are available for the government companies as well. To give you a simple example, government undertakes a lot of heavy projects, large projects. Now, when they initiate large projects, they have multiples of contractors across multiple sites. So now something very simple is the contractor doing the right job or not? Is the contractor paying their employees right salary or not? Are they paying minimum wages or not? Are they depositing their PF, PTS, SELWF or not? So for all these things, what is massively used by the government agencies other than private sector also is our contractor compliances and contractor audit module, where basically all the information has to be updated by the contractors. So we give this software access to the contractors also and to the principal also, which could be the government. And the contractors have due dates within which they need to fulfill and update the documents in the system. The moment they update the system reads all these documents and gives you an audit report. So the principal, which is the government, gets a ready-made audit report with high risk, medium risk, low risk, clarified, audit scores, ranking. So if I have deployed 500 contractors, then who is rank 1, who is rank 500? What is their audit score? Are they above 95%? Are they between 85 to 95? Are they between 75 to 85? So the government can immediately decide whether I need to continue with this contractor, give him a warning, or should I stop his payment and say that no, I will not pay you, get all compliances in place, and then you do it. So many large organizations, including government entities, use these modules of ours because they have control over a community which otherwise, is generally that industry and community is not a very compliant savvy kind of a industry. Similarly goes into real estate. So real estate again is a very controversial kind of industry when it comes to
Yes.
compliances. But many of the real estate players happen to be our clients. They also use these modules because they contract, subcontract to many organizations their large projects. So we have a solution for everyone, whether it's a startup, mid-sized corporate, SME, large corporate, very large conglomerate enterprise, as well as the government.
So your company is aiming for a 300% growth in client acquisition and in the ongoing year. I think by the sound of it, it seems very ambitious. So, are
So
you on track of achieving this kind of growth?
yeah. So in fact, Anoopji, frankly, this was a statement which I had made at the start of the year, which was in the month of March 23. And
Okay.
now that we have completed the first half of the year,
Mm.
I think we have exceeded our targets as well. We would be very well above 300% by the time we end this year. So on an average, we onboard at least about 3 to 4 new clients every week. So that means we are onboarding at least about 15 clients a month, which is about close to 200 clients in a year. So when we started the year, we were hovering at approximately about 300, 350 odd clients. And as I speak, we are close to almost about 600 plus. And I think by the time we end this year, we will be at about 3x of what we started.
Do you have any expectations from the government? Some reforms that the government can do to encourage further digitization of the labor laws and encourage and give you more scope for growth? Companies like you.
So, if you ask me, Anupji, there are two things which definitely we are looking forward from the government. So, one is implementation of the new wage code, because that, according to me, is a very reformatory kind of uh, change that is coming, and everyone is going to be impacted with it. Some people look at it positively, some people look at it negatively, but it's overall going to change this entire space, which has not happened in the last many decades. The second thing is, I would, of course, expect the government to help uh, softwares connect directly or integrate directly with their platforms. To give you a simple example, whatever I do in my software, finally I have to download the PF challans and I have to upload it manually to the PF portal. Now, if the PF portal permits me to integrate with them, then I can avoid that step. I can straight away push the ready PF challan into the PF portal and the ECR can be generated from there. So, of course, when I go into the government portals, I see that they're creating a provision for an API. But my request would be if they make it live earlier, then it makes an integrated software which is seamless end to end. And people at a click of a button fulfill everything immediately.
So, are you communicating these ideas to the government officers,
Yes, yes, of course. Whenever we
and
meet
you are
the
getting a good feedback from them?
Yes, yes, yes. In fact, the authorities are very happy when they look at our software as well, because as I said, it's an innovation in the industry. And frankly, we don't have a competitive product available here. So when we meet labor authorities, we meet government authorities, we meet the PF authorities, CSIC authorities, we make representations and we meet. So I'm active with the CII, I'm active with other forums. So when we meet the labor minister or we meet the state ministers, they look at it very positively and proactively, and they when they give us 15 minutes 20 minutes meeting, we realize that they spend time almost an hour with us because they get very excited looking at how things can happen at a click of a button, where they themselves go to these offices and they see that their own people are struggling with a lot of paperwork and file and all. So the question that comes to us is, while you're building this for the corporate sector, whether it is private or government, can you actually build something for the government itself? That is, let's say, can you build some platform or something collaborating with the government IT departments and IT vendors? Is there something that you can do to simplify the entire processes in the government offices and the government processes, which is more of the people who demand the compliance, not people like us who fulfill the compliance?
Okay. So, my final question would be: if a new company, let's say a startup, with less than 500 employees, they come to you for labor law compliance. What kind of benefits they can achieve in terms of cost cutting, in terms of man hours, less man hours spent in
So,
complying to the labor laws?
yeah. So Anupji, very, very good question, and I will respond again in two parts. So first thing is a startup typically has limited money. So the first thing that a startup would do is want to know their what is my fixed cost. So once my fixed cost is defined, I know how do I plan the revenue and income around it. So what we tell them is that we give them a complete package solution. So we say right from your licenses registration to licensing with government authorities to doing your monthly fulfillment and compliances that you need to submit to handling any kind of notices, inspections that you get, we give them a package at a fixed price, which is you could say half the price that they would have to incur if they appoint one person. So
Okay.
typically, a compliance knowledgeable person would come in the industry at anywhere between a 7 lakh to a 10 lakh kind of salary. At half of that per year, we basically offer them as a package. So they know that I have to spend 25, 30,000 rupees a month and my entire compliances are taken care of. I'm worry free. So this is what we offer to startups. Let's say I'm talking about startups who have just started and are small companies, and we have many of such clients available with us. On the other side, if I look at large enterprises, which is where typically they will ask me the question that if I deploy your software, how much money do I save? So for them, the of course we have a lot of use cases and we give them examples with data where typically the moment you implement this software, your cost of compliance, especially in terms of the people who are doing it today, comes down by at least 60-65%. So if today my cost of compliance is 100 rupees, by implementing this software, your cost comes down to about 35-40%.
Okay. Thank you. It's very nice talking to you. And
My pleasure.
I mean, this is a very new field, I think, to decide labor laws and to imply, enable people to companies to comply with these laws through a digital process.
Definitely, sir.
Hopefully,
Definitely.
it will lead to some improvement in the labor condition
It
in
will.
the.
It will. It definitely. Government is serious about it, and I'm sure things will change in the next 3 to 5 years.
So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Anup. Have a nice day.